Hello viewers, welcome to the Editorial Analysis by Drishti IAS. In this section, we regularly take editorials from various newspapers and news portals for a better understanding of various issues happening in India and around the globe. Dear viewers, in this section, we first try to link the editorial with our UPSC syllabus. Then we go analytical in order to understand some key points and at last some important concepts. Dear viewers, we truly hope that you like this initiative taken by Drishti IAS and your feedbacks are important for us. So kindly feel free to give your important feedbacks in the comment section. So without any further delay, let's commence our session.
Dear viewer, this video is available in Hindi as well. If you wish to watch it, please visit our Hindi YouTube channel, Drishti IAS. For your convenience, the link for this video in Hindi has been provided in the description below.
Today's editorial is taken from the Economic Times published on 25th of February 2021. The title of today's editorial is Leverage Tech for Migrants' Sake. If we try to link today's editorial with our UPSC syllabus, we can link it with GS Paper 2 and primarily with the section that includes welfare schemes for vulnerable section of the population by the center and states and the performance of these schemes. Some key points from today's editorial. Niti Aayog subcommittee is drafting a national action plan for the migrant workers. Thoroughness rather than speed should be its goal. India's extant law on migrant workers has proved toothless in providing welfare or relief in the times of crisis. Now viewers, a Niti Aayog's subcommittee is actually preparing a national action plan for migrant worker. Now, this announcement was made recently in Rajya Sabha on 10th of February. It was said that the Niti Aayog has constituted a subgroup to prepare a national action plan for migrant workers. The subcommittee comprises the members from various ministries of Government of India, subject experts, NGOs, civil society organizations to prepare a tangible action plan to address issues related to migrant workers. Now, in order to safeguard the interest of the migrant workers, the central government had enacted the Interstate Migrant Workmen Regulation of Employment and Conditions of Services Act 1979. This act has now been subsumed in the Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code 2020. Now, this Occupational Safety, Health and Working Condition Code 2020 is one of the recent bills, the recent labor codes that were introduced by the government in September 2020. The code has been notified on 29th of September 2020. The above mentioned code, commonly known as the OSH, that is Occupational Safety Health Code, provides for decent working conditions, minimum wages, grievances redressal mechanism, protection from abuse and exploitation, enhancement of the skills, and social security to all category of organized and unorganized workers, including the migrant workers. The relevant provisions of the OSH code are applicable to every establishment in which 10 or more interstate migrant workers are employed or were employed on any day of the preceding 12 months. Now, this entire information was given by Minister of State for Labour and Employment, Shri Santosh Kumar Gangwar. Okay. Now, so viewers, we saw that during the lockdown situation, there were millions and millions of migrant workers who were traveling on foot. No things, or you can say no provisions were made for these migrant workers. So under such a circumstance, it was said that it is high time that the government should take this initiative and has to ensure that these migrant workers are also getting some benefits in case there is a critical time or there is some or other kind of crisis. Armed as migrant workers are now with unique identifiers, mobile phones, digitization of government services, payment systems open up new possibilities in devising welfare and advancing rights. Now, we know that the government is moving towards the digitalization. Now, with the help of digitalization, the issue of migrant workers, whether it is related to payment or providing other facilities, the best way would be that government should start using its digitalization mechanism. Now, viewers, before we move ahead, it is quite important for us to actually see that what exactly were the three labor codes that were introduced. Now, three labor codes, which were the Industrial Relation Code Bill 2020, the Code on Social Security Bill 2020, and Occupational Safety, Health and Working Condition Code Bill 2020. Now, the important for us and with reference to our editorial is the third bill, which is known as the Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code Bill 2020. Now, it has defined interstate migrant worker as the worker who has come on their own from one state and obtained employment in another state and are earning up to 18,000 rupees a month. The proposed definition makes a distinction from the present definition of only contractual employment. It has dropped the earlier provision of temporary accommodation for worker near the work sites and has proposed a journey allowance, a lump sum amount of fare to be paid by the employer for to and fro journey of the worker to their native place from the place of their employment. So such provisions have been introduced in the OSH bill. Now, if we talk about the present scenario, like I said, the subcommittee has drawn members from various ministries, NGOs, civil society organizations in order to make a multifaceted plan. The subcommittee should take on board the inclusion of migrant workers in the labor codes and its rule, or the decision to have all India ration cards and the government's plan to build and provide affordable rental homes. Now, it is very important that the subcommittee is considering each and every aspect for the migrant workers. Now, whether it is with reference to all India ration card, that means if you have a ration card, it should be applicable all over the country. Also, the talks are that various rental homes will be prepared by the government and these workers will be provided accommodation in such rental houses. Ensuring minimum wages, provisioning of healthcare, social safety net that will protect workers while transiting from one job to another, retirement savings and protection of political rights by enabling their rights to franchise are most important challenges. Now, various things that are to be ensured, they are: number one, we have to ensure a minimum wage for our migrant workers. There has to be an appropriate provision of proper health care. There has to be a social security. Sense of social security is very important. Also, we have to ensure that there is some or other kind of retirement saving. Various initiatives have been started by the government. So it is important that all these migrant workers are actually the part of such social schemes which have been introduced by the government. The overhauled labor codes envisage minimum wage for all and retirement savings for informal sector and gig worker. These ideas must be given practical form. Now, we have heard a lot. It is time to see the real-time performance. Healthcare provisioning must build on existing provisions. How can workers access benefits under the Ayushman Bharat in states that do not subscribe to this program? See, one of the most important sectors where it is mandatory that the subcommittee has to focus upon is the healthcare provisions for these migrant workers. The most important thing would be government has started Ayushman Bharat Yojana, but what about the workers who are working in such states where the Ayushman Bharat scheme is not applied yet? So what extra benefits, what extra provisions could be provided by the government to such people? The right to vote must be secured by inclusion in the voters list of local residents or remote voting in the home constituency. Also, when it comes to voting, again it is important that every person who is eligible to vote must be given an opportunity. This provision that one person has to visit its native place in order to put the vote, to cast the vote. Sometimes situations are like that. If a person is working somewhere else The person has a voting card of one different state. So most of the times it is seen that the person does not go for voting. So this problem is also required to be considered here. It is very important. We are talking about a democracy that we live in, and every person, doesn't matter how rich or poor, has got the right to vote. And such a right is to be practiced by each and everyone. Government has to ensure that every person who has this voting right should practice it. The way forward: portability and connectivity of a billion mobile phone numbers besides Aadhaar-based verification and payment offer clear proof of the ability to routinely tap a nationwide database to provide services. It must be leveraged. See, when we are talking about connectivity, when we are talking about the portability, we have over 1 billion plus mobile users. When we have such a huge number in terms of mobile connection, also the numbers are being verified. The numbers are being connected to the Aadhaar card. The Aadhaar cards have been linked with the phone number, with the banks and everywhere. So if such things can happen, then obviously it is quite sure that we in India are very much capable of keeping a nationwide database in order to provide the rightful services to all the people who are actually in need of that. So viewers, this was with today's editorial analysis. I hope you liked it very much. A question that can be franked with reference to today's editorial is: what are the various initiatives that have been taken by the Government of India to handle the issues and problems of the vulnerable section of society during the COVID pandemic? So viewers, thank you very much for today's session.